Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in my last video, I said that there are some things that I want to make a separate video on. And today, if you read the title, I want to talk about, in this video, I want to talk about this scene right here.
We face it together.
So, as you can see in this scene, with the stone, we get to see the Goron Sage pass the Daruk's protection to the Rito Sage. Now, nobody has really talked about this that much, but for me, I find this to be really interesting to see Daruk's protection in the Age of Imprisonment. The reason why it's really surprising to me is that in Tears to Kingdom, there are no champions in Tears to Kingdom, and none of the champion abilities can be used in Tears to Kingdom. We don't even see Daruk's protection in Tears to Kingdom at all. We don't see Yunobo use Daruk's protection. So there's like no sign of any Daruk's protection in Tears to Kingdom. The closest thing we got is the Sidon Sage ability, but even then, it doesn't work exactly like Daruk's protection. And that's obviously not Daruk's protection. And so, this scene here really interests me. And with the scene, I can say that we'll also see other champion abilities be used. That's what I'm believing. We'll definitely see champion abilities being used in Age of Imprisonment from the Sages. And in this video, I also want to cover how those abilities would work. Now, for Mipha's Grace, the way I could see this work is that if a character dies, then the Zora Sage would have the ability for Mipha's Grace. They'll have to approach to the fallen character, and then they'll revive them like that. And I think they'll revive them to their full health, and perhaps maybe even some extra hearts. That is a possibility. Now, in Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, if a character dies, any character, then it's game over, regardless of if another character's alive or not. And so, this one though, I hope that like if a character dies, then it would not be game over yet, but instead we get to play as another character. However, Mipha's Grace from the Zora Sage, she will have to approach to the fallen ally, and she will heal them like that. Now, to keep this not so broken, I think that I should just assume that this can only be used once per battle. And maybe if the Zora Sage is leveled up even more, then twice. But starting point, she can only use this ability once per battle. Or another option is to have like a cooldown, and it's going to be a pretty long cooldown. But they have to do something about this so that this ability would not be too broken. And if the Zora Sage dies, then the Mipha's Grace would be automatically used, I believe, and the Zora Sage would revive. But that ability is already used and cannot be used again in the battle. But I don't think that's likely gonna happen, because like there are also mini battles as well. And so if that ever happens, then you know the Zora Sage would just revive, and basically the Zora Sage would be the only one to have 2 lives. And so I don't think that we could see like a self-benefit for the Zora Sage, and that Zora Sage can only use it to heal others rather than itself. That is my theory, but that is how I could see Mipha's Grace being used from the Zora Sage. And I think that that would work the best. So the Zora Sage would only be able to use Mipha's Grace once per battle, or twice, depending on the level she's in. And the Zora Sage has to approach to the fallen ally in order to heal them and revive them completely. Now for Urbosa's Fury, the way I could see this working is that when Urbosa's Fury, so the Gerudo Sage will pass on the lightning ability to another character, in whichever direction they attack, that is the direction the lightning flows. And so it will be less like Urbosa's Fury and more like the Riju's lightning attack. It's kind of like that, where the direction which the attack goes would be the direction the lightning would strike. So like if they attack forward, then that's where the lightning would strike. And if they attack like at their side or the backwards, then the lightning would strike there. And so this would be more like Riju's lightning, but it would still work similarly to Urbosa's Fury, where it would only target enemies. That is how I would say this work. And this would depend on like how the attack was passed. And so like if the Gerudo Sage would pass the attack to other characters, then they will have the ability to attack. And that the way they strike their lightning would be different as well. This is like pretty complicated, and it's not guaranteed that this will happen, but it is a possibility if Urbosa's Fury is implemented to this game. Now for Revali's Gale, this one might not be as complicated to work on as the other champion abilities. And so for this one, it's kind of simple. The Gerudo Sage would pass the ability to a character, and then their updraft would surround them, and then they will take their paragliders and fly into the air, and they will do some aerial attacks. They won't do the air attacks itself. It will be a special attack, but it's on the air, and so it has its unique uses as well. And I think it also has some other benefits as well, such as like the enemies, like the smaller enemies being launched upwards, and maybe that's also another purpose. Like the enemies that are launched upwards will be the ones who get attacked. Or maybe like if we fight like Stone Taluses or Hinoxes, then like we'll target and it will be easier for us to attack at their weak spots. And so that's how I assume this would work. That's how I would imagine it. Again, this is like not as hard to work on as the others, because it's just creating animations, and you know, you could like either this ability can attack enemies that were lifted upwards, or be able to like hit enemy weak points easier, like the minor mini bosses weak points, like the Taluses and the Hinox. That is the ability I can see being used, but I'm not 100% sure. But this is how I would imagine this to work if Revali's Gale is included in the game. Now for Daruk's protection, it would kind of seem like the Sage of fire would simply pass Daruk's protection to the allies, and it would just simply protect them and parry attacks, parry like stronger attacks like lasers. That's how it would kind of seem to be. However, I don't think that would be the case, and I believe that there would be even more to that Daruk's protection's abilities. I think we'll see more from that ability. So, as you can see in this scene here,
Be that as it may.
this seems like a follow-up attack. Like, it seems like a combo attack, a team attack. You see the Sage of Fire pass Daruk's protection to the Rito Sage.
May.
And as the Rito Sage was about to attack, we see Daruk's protection surround the Rito Sage. Now this could either just be simply to protect him, or the Rito Sage is about to do an attack, and that attack involves the Daruk's protection. That's my speculation, but it would seem like there's more to Daruk's protection. So, it is possible that Daruk's protection could last on that character for a fair amount of time, but at the same time, it could just only be used as an attack. But, I mean, it's more likely to be used as a protection, because it's called Daruk's protection, and so it's meant to protect the player. And so I think that, you know, even though the follow-up attack could use Daruk's protection, I believe that Daruk's protection would still last onto that player for some time. Thank you for watching today's video. If you liked this video, then hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I noticed that a lot of people have not been talking about the Daruk's protection in this game, but I find this ability to be super interesting, which is why I wanted to make a video on this. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would really appreciate your support, and if you want to see more good videos like this, then I'm ready to make more videos, and you'll definitely see a lot more good videos. But with that said, take care everyone, and I'll see you next time.